This is the image that defines a crumbling empire. If you open your news feed this morning, you won't see the polished headlines or the self-congratulatory press releases. You will see the skeleton of a financial house built on secrecy, deception, and ego. You will see flashing subpoenas, glowing laptop screens, and a labyrinth of shell companies. Stretching from the Caribbean to the Cayman Islands, you will see government agents silent but relentless, rifling through bank statements, tracing transactions and following the money trail, like forensic vultures circling a carcass. And for the first time in months, you will hear something terrifyingly quiet: silence. As of 9 a.m. Monday, January 27, 2026, federal investigators have officially confirmed the existence of multiple offshore accounts tied to former President Donald Trump, some previously undisclosed in mandatory filings. These accounts, scattered across jurisdictions known for secrecy, contain sums totaling hundreds of millions of dollars. According to insiders, the probe isn't just about tax avoidance. It's about intent, concealment, and the deliberate obfuscation of wealth from regulators. Donors and the public think of it as a financial sinkhole, says one former Treasury official familiar with the investigation. All the money appears to be there on paper, but in reality it's trapped in layers of offshore entities, designed to protect it from scrutiny. And now the walls around it are starting to crumble. The implications are immediate and devastating. Investors, donors, and political allies are watching, some in shock, some in silence. They had believed in a man who promised transparency, stability, and personal accountability. Instead, they are seeing a fortress of accounts built on smoke and mirrors. This morning, the Department of Justice confirmed that subpoenas have been issued to major banks, trust companies, and financial intermediaries linked to the offshore accounts. Investigators are reviewing decades of transactions, transfers between shell corporations, mysterious consulting fees, and sudden shifts in asset ownership. It's not just bookkeeping, says one federal prosecutor. This is a map of how power, politics, and money intertwine. And in this case, how they were shielded from law enforcement oversight. The optics are damning for a man obsessed with branding, image, and legacy. This is a collapse of perception. Instead of towering skyscrapers or gilded ballrooms, we now see stacks of documents, encrypted files, and the sterile hum of office lights in federal agencies. Instead of orchestrated press conferences, there is silence punctuated by subpoenas. Every headline, every tweet, every whispered rumor paints a picture of hubris meeting consequence. In this deep dive special report, we are going to unravel the offshore labyrinth. We are going to explain how decades of financial maneuvering, donor pressure, and legal loopholes created a fragile empire. We will expose the invisible accounts that have now become very visible. And we will show how, for the first time, the image of invincibility is colliding with a reality of accountability. The king wanted a hidden vault. He ended up with a federal investigation. To understand the magnitude of what has been exposed and why Washington, Wall Street, and Palm Beach are in stunned disbelief this morning, we need to rewind to the origins of these accounts. The promises made and the risks ignored this morning. Federal investigators have revealed what insiders are calling the offshore web, a network of hidden accounts connected to Donald Trump that had never been disclosed on tax filings or public records. According to court documents released under seal, but leaked to the press, at least 5 major accounts, each holding tens of millions of dollars, were funneled through shell companies in the Cayman Islands, Bermuda, and the Isle of Man. The funds are tied to real estate transactions, licensing agreements, and consulting fees, many of which are under scrutiny for potential misreporting to the IRS. The Department of Justice confirmed that subpoenas went out to financial institutions. This morning, this is not about politics. This is about compliance and the rule of law, said a senior DOJ official. We have a duty to follow the money wherever it goes, whether in Manhattan or the Caribbean. But in Washington, optics matter as much as facts. For months, Trump portrayed himself as the master builder of wealth, a man who could bend markets and donors to his will. Today, that image collides with a series of subpoenas, whistleblower memos, and financial trail maps that paint a far less invincible picture. Donors and political allies are in a state of quiet panic. A hedge fund executive, who contributed millions to Trump's political campaigns, was quoted anonymously. "We backed a public persona, not a secret offshore empire. This is different, this is complicated, and it's uncomfortable." Wealth managers and legal advisors are scrambling to advise clients on exposure, reputational damage and potential complicity. The timing couldn't be worse. The probe comes on the heels of other high-profile setbacks. Failed deals in Asia, seized New York properties, and ongoing investigations into prior campaign financing. Every misstep compounds the narrative of hubris, recklessness, and the illusion of control. Political operatives are already framing it as a lesson in overreach. When ambition outruns transparency, reality rushes in like a tide. For Trump himself, the exposure of these accounts is not just financial. It's existential. The empire he cultivated, carefully curated through media appearances, boardroom deals, and political theater, now exists in the harsh fluorescent glare of federal scrutiny. Every account, every wire transfer, every offshore incorporation is now evidence. Every missed disclosure becomes a potential headline. Every promise of financial mastery is undercut by legal documentation. In short, the offshore empire, once invisible, untouchable, and perfectly engineered to sustain power, wealth, and influence, is now a public spectacle, dissected by journalists, analysts, and federal agents alike. And for the first time, the king of branding finds himself not in control, but at the mercy of the paperwork, subpoenas, and consequences of his own financial designs. To understand the gravity of today's revelations, we need to rewind decades, back to the origins of Donald Trump's financial empire, and the offshore architecture that now threatens to topple it. From the beginning, Trump's business strategy was a mix of audacity, spectacle, and opacity. Towers, casinos, golf courses. Each project came with promises of profit, grandeur, and personal branding. But behind the glimmering facades, there were financial structures designed less for transparency than for control. Shell companies, limited liability corporations, and international accounts that insulated both risk and scrutiny. Offshore accounts were never an anomaly for Trump. They were a feature, a secret scaffolding supporting a public image of invincibility. Sources familiar with the matter describe a deliberate, layered approach. Funds from licensing deals, Trump-branded hotels, residential complexes, and even Trump-themed consumer products were routed through holding companies in low-tax jurisdictions. From there, money was distributed across trust vehicles, often under the names of family members, associates, or obscure management companies. Every layer was legal on paper. Every layer was designed to obscure ownership. Every layer was a hedge against accountability. But it wasn't just about tax efficiency. According to anonymous financial insiders, these accounts served multiple purposes: maintaining liquidity insulated from domestic creditors, preserving the illusion of cash flow during public-facing financial crises, protecting assets from potential lawsuits, regulatory penalties, or political retaliation, creating a reservoir of discretionary funds for political, personal, or branding projects. Without oversight for years, this network remained largely invisible. Regulators and journalists could see only fragments. A limited filing here, a subsidiary there. Donors and partners assumed the empire's public face reflected its internal reality. A combination of real estate holdings, brand licensing, and media ventures. Few understood that the actual money was moving in shadows, sometimes halfway across the globe, through vehicles designed to prevent anyone from tracing the flow. The origins of the current probe can be traced to a series of minor triggers. Over the last 5 years, in 2021, a whistleblower within one of Trump's real estate firms raised concerns about international wire transfers, flagged for potential anti-money laundering violations. Those flags sat quietly for months, initially dismissed as standard banking anomalies. By 2023, investigators noted patterns emerging: large repeated transfers to accounts registered in shell corporations, in jurisdictions notorious for banking secrecy. Then came the high-profile scrutiny of donor finances. Hedge funds, family offices, and wealthy political contributors who once backed Trump campaigns began pulling back, citing market volatility, reputational risk, and regulatory uncertainty. A leaked internal memo revealed a crucial insight. Donors wanted visibility into where funds were going. The opaque offshore structures, once a symbol of strategic genius, had become a liability, and now the legal and political pressure converged. Federal investigators wielding subpoenas, and forensic accountants began connecting the dots. Tax filings, corporate disclosures, and international bank reports revealed not just isolated account